Now, I know we don't want to be doing a whole lot of looking back, right? We don't want to be doing a whole lot of hanging on to the past, that's for sure. But the truth is, sometimes the way forward is found better when we just take a quick look back for the sake of learning something from the past. And so that's what we have in Romans chapter 11. In verse 2, the Apostle Paul tells us, take a look back for a minute and remember the prophet Elijah. About halfway through that verse, he says, Elijah the prophet complained to God about the people of Israel and said, Lord, they have killed your prophets and torn down your altars, and I am the only one left. And now they're trying to kill me too. In verse 4, Paul says, and do you remember God's reply? He said, no, I have 7,000 others who have never bowed down to Baal. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remember, the prophet was wrong. The great and mighty prophet Elijah, he believed what he was saying with all of his heart. He believed. He wouldn't have said it if he didn't believe it. But God had to correct him. God had to sit him down and say, no, you're wrong. What you believe is not actually the truth. And he had to get Elijah into the truth so he could get Elijah forward. Well, sometimes our way forward is to look back and say, let's learn about this now. And what do we know about Elijah is that he is highly acclaimed. He is celebrated. He is respected. He is referred to repeatedly in your New Testament. And nobody's over here trying to hold something against him about that time he was wrong and that time he missed it. No, instead, we're celebrating him as being the prophet who called down fire from heaven, right? We're celebrating him for being the prophet who confronted that spirit of Jezebel that was trying to take over and control his nation. You know what else we remember him as? Being that fella who secured his own exclusive private rapture. Elijah didn't die. No, sir. He was caught up in a chariot of fire that came down from heaven and scooped him up and took him on to glory. Now this fella, he missed it. He messed up. He was not perfect on that day. But for some reason, he attained a place where God said, oh, I can't leave you there anymore. I got to scoop you on up out of here. You don't belong in that place anymore. And that is how we remember that fella who was just as human as you and I, just as imperfect as you and I, having the potential to mess up, to get it wrong. Well, I think sometimes in our scurrying on down the road, one of the things that we forget to remember is some of our lessons from childhood, kindergarten, little Sunday school classes. This example in my Bible reminds me of a little song they taught me in Sunday school that said, he's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. It took him just a week to make the moon and the stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. How loving and patient he must be, 'cause he's still working on me. You know, there's no reason for us to be surprised when we find out that somebody we love and respect and admire is not perfect, not a finished product, makes some mistakes, messes up sometimes. You know why? Because you and I are still a work in progress. We know we're not perfect, so why are we expecting somebody else to be perfect all the time and always get it right all the time? And so if God is so loving and patient with us, maybe we can be loving and patient with each other. How loving and patient we should be, 'cause he's still working on you and me. Guys, let's go forward. Let's learn some lessons, but let's keep moving forward and not leave anyone